So Elvis, are you just relaxing down there? Yeah, just having a lazy Saturday? Are you? Are you tired after your walk? Are you? Right then, I'm going to do a video, alright? Okay, let's do it. Hello everyone and welcome to the latest episode of Book Time with Elvis, with me Mark, and of course Elvis, who you saw at the beginning of this video. It is another installment of a Saturday Assortment, and yes, so I'll start with a little bit about how my week's gone. Thank you again for the kind wishes regarding my feeling poorly last week after the vaccination, the second vaccination. Luckily I seem to have been, or touch wood, seem to have recovered from that. And the week has been fairly uneventful, at least in my life, which I suppose is a good thing. I've been working at school. We're still operating a rotation basis, so it means only some of the classes are back each week. So I think, for example, this week we had 2nd and 4th classes back, as well as 6 and 7. And then next week it will be 1, 3, 5, and 8 and 9. So, you know, it can be a little bit confusing because obviously, you have to look at your timetable and think, oh, do I have a lesson? Yes, I do. Yeah, no, I don't. Or is this one online, or is that one in school? But, we get through it. It's not too bad. And yeah, so that's pretty much all I've done this week. I did have a working from home on Thursday because I have, you can see it's a bit darker in here, and that's because outside, maybe I can show the camera towards the window. You probably can't see it. You might be able to. There is some scaffolding currently on the facade of my building because the owner is giving the building a facelift. It did cause some issues with my internet because I have a receiver outside the window, and they ripped off the piece of metal that it was attached to, so I was without internet probably for a grand total of an hour until the man from the company came to fix it. It was very lucky because the engineer happens to be the brother of my neighbour, so I got that done really quickly. This is the kind of place, this is the kind of place it is really here. A lot of things are done by who you know, which has its benefits if you know a lot of people, and being one of the few foreigners that live in town, I'm quite well known, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but when it comes to situations like that, it's certainly a good thing. At the time of recording, I was at 250 subscribers, so I'm very, very pleased and chuffed and overjoyed about that. I know this has a tendency to fluctuate, so I'll probably have egg on my face if it's dropped down to 249 or 48 or something by the time this is uploaded. Of course, it'd be lovely if it's gone up a little bit more, but I'm really thrilled to think there are 250 people, or at least 248 people, again, minus my mother and my sister, who I didn't know prior to doing this probably, and they've chosen to subscribe to me. So that's really humbling, actually. So thank you very much. I did see something interesting this week, considering I know a lot of people were doing a buddy read last month, or read along, is it? Actually, it confuses me a bit, the two, of Evelyn Waugh's Brideshead Revisited, because, funny enough, his house, Evelyn Waugh's house, is up for sale in England. It's near Taunton in the county of Somerset, and although I'm sure I saw a price tag of around £3.5 million yesterday, excuse me, I had a dog hair in my mouth, around £3.5 million yesterday. I checked today and it seems to be around £5.5 million. So if you have £5.5 million to spare, this house, see, there'll be a picture there, but there isn't at the moment while I'm doing it. This house could be yours, and it's very lovely, actually. I'll leave a link to it below. You can see it. Obviously, it's had some modifications, I imagine, since Waugh lived there, but it's got a very nice swimming pool with a lovely view. So moving on to books and things this week, I have been participating in maybe MIDRASH, and I've been reading, I think in the last video when I talked about this, I said I was reading 2 books. Well, that's somehow climbed to 3 books, and it's 2 non-fiction now and 1 fiction. And the non-fiction the ones I'm reading are Delighting in the Trinity, An Introduction to the Christian Faith by Michael Reeves. So far quite interesting, very light-hearted actually, and amusingly written, but still a serious subject. And the one that somehow snuck its way into my reading is a book called The Unseen Realm, Recovering the Supernatural Worldview of the Bible by Michael S. Heiser. This is very good. It takes as its premise Psalm 82, because apparently whilst the author was reading this psalm, I think he was reading it in Hebrew, he noticed that there's references to other gods in that, which of course kind of goes against what he believed the central tenet, I suppose, of monotheistic Christianity is. And in Psalm 82, from the English translation here, it says, God standeth in the congregation of the mighty, he judgeth among the gods. So that's very interesting. Heiser himself is a Christian, and he says that it doesn't sway his faith, but just gave him a new way of looking at it. So I'm about a quarter of a way through that one, so it'd be quite interesting. Also very nicely written, kind of light-hearted as well, with some humour, which has surprised me. I have to say, maybe I was naive thinking a lot of these books on Christianity would be a bit dry. I was probably thinking of, fusty old divinity professors who probably didn't have a sense of humour, whereas certainly Reeves and Heiser do have that, which is nice. And the third one is fiction, a novel, The Liar's Gospel by Naomi, Alderman. I've mentioned it already in a previous video. It is very good, very interesting to see a different kind of take on the Jesus story. I'll talk about those all more once I get further into them. But yeah, so far, so very good. And I'm also doing a buddy read that I mentioned. It's my first buddy read, and it's with Summer from Cozy Reading with Quaker Cats, and we're reading Cold Comfort Farm by Stella Gibbons. I believe she's up to chapter 5. I don't think she's read it yet, and I'm up to chapter 6. We both have mixed feelings about it. I mean, the book is quite hyped as being one of the funniest books ever written, and it's certainly amusing in parts, but it's also very, very strange so far. And we both noticed how that there's kind of a change in tone from when the book starts. Like, I think after chapter 2, it's almost like it's written by somebody else. The style change is quite dramatic, and it's just odd in parts. I mean, I still can't work out whether I like it or not. I really want to like it because it fits in, I think, with a lot of the type of books I do like. But so far it is just a bit weird, but we'll see. I mean, it's still early days and there's a lot more of it to read. Okay, so the last part of this Saturday assortment is I'm continuing my Mozart Marathon, and this is where I try to listen to one Mozart opera every week, and this week it is La Finita Semplice, or The Fake Innocent, and it's catalogue number K51. And this is an opera in 3 acts, and it was composed also in 1768, like the previous opera I looked at, when Mozart was only 12 years old. And it was composed whilst Mozart was living with his father in Vienna, which at the time, of course, was the imperial capital of the Habsburg Empire. And he was struggling to establish his son as a composer, a serious composer. And it was the emperor himself, the Emperor Joseph II, who suggested that the young Mozart write an opera. However, it didn't go according to plan, and probably was linked to a lot of Mozart's problems in the future, actually. And it was, something of a setback to his career. Especially as he was a child, and during his childhood, he did have a lot of universal success and stardom. He was well known for what he was doing. And whilst visiting the capital, the emperor suggested he write this. However, the opera was quite controversial. There was a lot of nastiness over its production, arguments amongst the crew, and almost willful acts of sabotage from people. And this affair kind of exploded a little bit, and it kind of gave a bad feeling throughout Vienna. And the Empress Maria Theresa was quite a stern woman by all accounts, and she didn't like the negative publicity and everything that this production was causing. And she had a lot of children, and a lot of those sat on thrones, dukedoms, etc., all across Europe. And because she was put off by this, she could well have influenced a lot of the other high-ranking aristocrats of Europe, which meant that it was difficult for Mozart to secure stable and permanent employment, probably. Anyway, moving on to the opera itself. As I said, it's in 3 acts. It centers around an army captain, a captain Fracasso, maybe, and he's stationed with his soldiers, his Hungarian soldiers, near the town of Cremona, and he has a sergeant called Simone, and they were had been lodging in this house belonging to Don Cassandro, and whilst they were lodging there, Cassandro lived in this house with his brother Polidoro and his sister Giacinta, who apparently was very beautiful, and Polidoro, the other brother, was perhaps simple-minded. Anyway, like a lot of these kind of stories, this kind of love, I don't know, it's not a triangle, maybe some kind of rhombus or something, develops. Fracasso himself falls for Giacinta, his sergeant Simone falls for her chambermaid Ninetta. However, Fracasso can't secure the permission he needs from Giacinta's brothers to get married, so he calls in the help of his sister Rosina, and she kind of leads a merry dance between the 2 brothers until permission is granted for Giacinta, sorry, all the names, it's probably confusing you as well, for Giacinta and Fracasso to get married. And if you see, the mathematics don't really work, because there are 7 individuals involved. However, there can only be 3 pairings, so somebody loses out. Basically, it's a lot of fun. There's some nice, beautiful music in there, and I guess spoiler alert, but basically it's a happy ending for everybody except the simple-minded Polidoro, because he is also in love with Rosina, but Rosina chooses to be with Don Cassandro. And yeah, so it's quite mean, actually, because when she rejects Polidoro and marries Cassandro, both Cassandro and Rosina end up mocking poor old Polidoro, calling him stupid and this kind of stuff. So everything ends well for 3 couples, but poor old Polidoro is left alone and heartbroken at the end. But it's a very nice opera. Give it a go if you're interested. Excellent. So that concludes our installment of a Saturday Assortment for this week, and I thank you very much for taking the time to watch. I do wish you're all healthy and safe, of course, and look forward very much to seeing you all again soon. All the best. Bye-bye.